I was like a man who tried to buy the wind to sell a sinking ship, only to realize that the wind belongs to God and the ship was never mine to keep. I stole my ex-wife from a Congolese guy. He was the son of a minister there in his country, and they ran away from DRC because of something that was happening. Like whenever they change leadership there in DRC, they have the habit of killing the other people that they would have found in power. So the father ran with his family and they came to our country. Then I met the wife. I proposed love to him, and then we started dating, and she was cheating on her Congolese husband, and I married her. I impregnated her while she was still staying with her husband, and then I married her. We went to court and life was okay. But when you have a wife that you would have brought into your life in such a situation, when things go bad, she will never stick by you. She will dump you. She will forget you as if you never existed. Brother Nashi, please share my story as a warning to every man who think that it is worth to be with a beautiful woman who loves you because of your bank card. Women from Congo, DRC, they are beautiful. My ex-wife, she is so beautiful. Even the kids that we had together, they are so gorgeous. And each and every time when I will go out with him, sometimes I will be scared that they will snatch her away from me. And never use money to attract a woman into your life, because that same money, once it runs out, she is going to kiss you goodbye and she will never return back. I was 39 years old. I was living a South African dream. Yes, we do have a South African dream where you have a big, beautiful house in the likes of Santon, and you have a big car that you are driving. I had a fleet of cars, and I used to take my Wagon that I would go with to play golf. Whenever I would return back to my casa in Ivory Park, people, they respected me. Even those that were older than me, they would call me their Grootman. Even my father, the way that he respected me, it was as if I was his elder brother, yet I was still very young. Because of the money that I had the habit of dating very beautiful women, and I only loved the daughters of politicians. I don't know why. Maybe it was because I was involved in tenders and I was always close to these men that were rich and men that had power. So maybe that is the reason as to why my love life, it was always me dating these daughters of ambassadors from different parts of the world, as well as our local politicians. I then stole this wife of mine, my ex-wife, from her husband. She was a beautiful, overqualified Congolese doctor, and I managed to marry her, and she started working at Mediclinic. Like me and him, we were so perfect, and I loved her with all of my heart because of the way that she was beautiful. I loved to go around with her to my relatives, parading her beauty, telling them that this was the perfect gift that God had ever given unto me. So I was playing a dangerous game, brother, because I was always exchanging bribes with other people so that I can be able to get my tenders. And where I got it wrong was that I did not understand this thing of SARS. So even the cars, some of them that I had, I would purchase the cars in my company car instead of me using these cars like for strict company business. I'll end up using them for my own personal business. And where I got it even wrong was when we would go on vacations, we would go there with the business cards, using them, not using them for business stuff. So I was playing a dangerous game, and when my accountant told me to relax a little bit because of my spending, I was buying cars after cars. I would always be purchasing new vehicles, return back the 3 months old vehicle to the dealership, and at the dealership they will love you for that. They really do not care where you are getting this money from. So SARS was hot on my tail. I thought that since I was making so much money, I was not going to be caught in the system. I moved money through my other accounts, and my lifestyle, it was just too much. My lifestyle funded expenditures did not match my declarations. That was when the hammer fell down on top of my head. SARS froze everything. In one morning, woke up, I went from a multimillionaire and to a man who could not even buy a loaf of bread, and the luxury cars were suddenly in debt. I was unable to fulfill my financial obligations with my bank. And as for my Congolese wife, I was not the first one to give him a good life. She was born with a silver spoon already in her mouth. She came from a very wealthy family, and her father and her brothers and her mom had been assassinated when she was in boarding school. That is how she survived. She grew up in money, and she got married to a minister's son, and they were dealing in diamonds and other minerals that are found in DRC. So she did not know how to suffer. This woman had never suffered in her entire life. When I told him that we were supposed to move to Ivory Park, hey, that was when I saw that a Congolese woman will laugh at you until she starts to cry. She asked me what I was talking about. I said, we have to return back to Ivory Park. She was sitting on the floor as she was laughing at me when I told her that we were supposed to go to Ivory Park so that we can restart our life. And it is important as a man to have a woman that will understand you in any situation. I told her that my accountants, they were busy trying to fix our frozen bank accounts, and she could not even understand. She gave me an ultimatum, and she told me that if I was not going to make things to return back to normal, she will start to cheat on me, and there was nothing that I will do about it. I screamed at him when she was walking upstairs. She was shaking her booty, looking at me, and she will say that you will never touch this again if you try to make me starve to death. I work and I will feed myself and the kids. And she banged the door, locked me outside. I was desperate. I started to look for someone that could assist me. When I thought about my wife, the way that she was so beautiful, I started to run mad. I was looking for someone, not a lawyer, someone who could help me with a miracle, no matter what I was going to do to keep my wife and kids in my house. I had heard of this other sangoma in Mozambique from one guy who had once gone to Tete to fix some of his business partners that had robbed him of his money, and it had worked. Those people, they returned back with the money that they had stolen. So he gave me the phone numbers in Mozambique, and I said if I can go to Mozambique, then I can get the money and I can pay back SARS what it is saying that I am owing them. I lied to my wife, and I told her that I just wanted to go and speak with my other former business partners that were going to assist me. Brother Nashi, I then got onto the bus going to Mozambique. And this bus, like, it is different from the buses that we have here in South Africa. We were overcrowded. And there was one other guy who was from Mozambique. He was a Mozambican man. He was an older man that was sitting right next to me. We did not speak. We spoke when the bus stopped and we were buying food. He thought that maybe I was from Mozambique, and then he asked me from which part of Mozambique I came from and where I was headed to. I then told him that I was a South African. He thought that I was lying. As we were talking, I don't know why, maybe it was the desperation in me, and I told him everything. I told him about the frozen accounts, everything that I still had. The G-Wagon, I had already finished paying it off. The mansion, no, and the other cars. The only car that I had that I could resell was the G-Wagon. And I told him that I was going to perform a ritual and I had some money. It was not a lot, and I was hoping that the Sangoma might even assist me with money for transport upon my return, because the Sangoma had told me the amount that I was supposed to carry on my way going there to Mozambique, so that he can assist me. And he said, when you come here, we will talk, because I told him that the money that he had charged me, I would be unable to even return back to South Africa. As we were talking, this man, he kept on shaking his head, looking at me, asking me if I was for real, the things that I was telling him. And I said, old man, I am telling you the truth. I started to show him the pictures of my house, my wife, when we got married, the wedding, and everything. And he could not understand why was it that I had chosen to do the things that I wanted to do, but he could not understand. He kept on speaking with me, and he told me not to go to that village. He said, once you go to that, you will return maybe with money, but you're not going to enjoy it. He told me that in their country, in Mozambique, it's not each and everyone that do these money rituals. Mostly it is someone that is a foreigner that comes to do these money rituals. As for them, they will not even touch a sangoma with a 1 meter long stick. That is how much they dislike these money rituals, because they know the effects of using money rituals, as well as the blood that will be required. As I spoke with this man, Brother Nashi, he then convinced me to drop off at his bus stop, and I did so. When we were in his village, he told me that about 20 kilometers from his village there was a Catholic church, and he wanted me to go there so that I can speak with some people. And he said, if you speak with the priest there, if he says you can go, it's fine. I just want you to speak with the priest. So he accompanied me to that Catholic church. When we arrived there, the priest, he spoke mainly Portuguese, a little bit of broken English. So we spoke from early morning until around 11 a.m. We were still talking. He told me that they don't perform those type of miracles of money, but he just wanted me to know that once I open my heart to the devil, then I will do anything for the devil. He counseled me on the vanities of life that I had built in South Africa. The priest told me that you are trying to save your marriage, but do you think that this wife of yours, even if you end up doing these money rituals, will still stay by you if something bad happens after you would have sold your soul to the devil? And when the priest told me about this, Brother Nanshi, I started to experience something in my heart. I started to tell myself that what I was doing in Mozambique, I was not supposed to do it in the first place. And I started to cry. I never thought that I would cry in front of a Catholic priest. This was not a Pentecostal priest, because me and my wife, here and there, we used to go to Pentecostal churches. But this one, he was a Catholic priest that was making me to cry. I listened to him, and yes, I understood that my wife, even if I would do these rituals, I would never know if she really loved me for real. I stayed at that church for 3 days, and then I returned back to South Africa. I was ready, and with what he told me, I thought that my wife, she was going to understand me, because he said, how much does your wife earn? And I told him, and he said, if your wife is a doctor, maybe you can start there. You can ask him maybe for a loan, and you can start a small business. So returning to Joburg, it was the hardest thing in my life. The reality hit me hard the moment that I saw that we were in Joburg. I knew that my problems were still facing me, SARS, and still I had to face my wife. I sat with my wife down and I told her the truth, not about me going to Mozambique, but about the fact that we were broke and I was going to settle the debt. I was going to sell my Wagon. That was the only cash asset that I really owned, that I could sell and get some money out of it. The reaction, bro, it was immediate. This woman, she knew where I was headed to. I wanted us to return to Ivory Park and stay with my parents. Even though I knew it was going to be difficult for him, but it was going to be a start. I thought that since she had a salary, she will say, okay, we will downgrade and we would look for an apartment still in the suburbs where we will be able to continue living a little bit of a normal life, and you try maybe to look for a job, you look for something in the meantime, while we are trying to get our life back in shape. That woman, I saw true colors on that day, that this one, she was never supposed to be my wife, and I started to regret the things that I had done for that woman. She was no longer joking like what she was doing the first time around. She told me point blank that she was not going to do that. And she said, if you are ever going to sell the car and you're going to sell this house, then I am out of this marriage. I said, yeah, that is what we are going to do. I contacted my lawyers and SARS agents, and I told them that I was ready to liquidate. And I sold my Wagon. We had a McLaren that she loved quite a lot. And then we put the Santon mansion on the market. It was just a fire sale, and it was painful. You know, most of people that have never been rich in their life, or those that have never been able to qualify for a house loan, they don't know this part of life. When you go broke, when you can't pay for your house, they don't kick you out like in the location. They will tell you to leave the room. They will be people that will come and walk in your house while you are still there, room by room, while your property is still there, looking at your house. That is what it is like when you go broke and you are going to be evicted by the bank. There were those that would come and walk into the house. Then I would go outside. Sometimes I would feel like crying. My wife, the doctor, she could not handle it. To her, moving from Santon, it was as if she was going to die. She told me that she will never settle for someone that is poor. I tried to explain that it was not us giving up. I was paying up so that I could start afresh as a free man. She did not want that. She said she wanted the life that I had promised her. Within weeks, as the house was being sold, the accounts were being cleared to pay the millions that I owed in back taxes and penalties, she packed her bags quietly. She left me when I needed her the most, taking our kids, and she went to Cape Town, where she had better prospects as a doctor. I was left in an empty house with nothing but a suitcase and receipts from SARS. By late 2022, I was no longer the king that I used to be. After the house was sold and the final settlement with SARS was reached, I just had enough left to clear my name. I was technically free, but I was also homeless. I did one thing that I never thought I would ever do. I called my parents, they knew, and I told them that I was going to come back home in Ivory Park. I moved back into my childhood bedroom, the same room where I used to dream about staying in Santon. That is how life is so funny. And you know, returning back home, no car, used to have a Wagon, used to have a McLaren, and now you don't even have a car. You are driving these old model cars now. This is your life. So I'm starting from zero. While I am struggling right now in Ivory Park, my wife, she is in Cape Town. She is a doctor. She easily found a high-paying position. She blocked me on everything. She moved our children into a private estate. I can't even go there. When I had money, I tried to enter into that estate, but they have to call my wife, and she said, why didn't you tell me that you're coming to Cape Town? I was not ready for you. No, let us not do this. And I don't want to go to court because it will just kill me. And I said, okay, it's fine. Let me find a spot to stay. I could not even afford to stay in a hotel. I just looked for a cheap lodge. I went to that lodge and I stayed there. Then I would meet up with my kids. Can you imagine? I would go and meet up with my kids in town at a restaurant or at the shops, at the mall, and I would see my kids. That is my life, and I could not afford to return back to Cape Town again. So I just speak with my kids because I don't speak with her directly, but the kids, they have their own phone. So I use the phone to speak with my kids. I just ask how mommy is doing. I still love my wife because we have kids together, but I know that she is way above my league now. It is going to be difficult for her to return back to me. I don't have a job right now. When I look at myself in the mirror, sometimes I feel so bad about the decisions that I made. I wish that I had married a South African woman. There was one girl that I dated growing up. She is now a single mom of 2, staying here in Ivory Park. When I had money, there was a time when I took her to Senton and I wanted to marry her, but I just felt as if she was classless. She was a woman that did not have class because we went out and I did not like the way that she handled herself amongst my rich friends. And one of my friends, she was like, yo, where did you get this location rat from? And it just made me to realize that she was not of a higher standard. And as for the woman from DRC, she was perfect, and she also went to university in France, and you know, she was just lovable. She was a classy woman. I don't think that I'll ever return back to Senton. No, I don't think so. I will probably just live here in Ivory Park until I die. I've not recovered, not financially, emotionally. The pain of my kids being kept away from me is a wound that bleeds every day inside of my heart. My kids, probably they will grow up learning French with their mom. They will never learn to be South African proper, but it is life, Brother Nashin. This is my life. Just tell your listeners not to play. You have the chance to have money. Make sure that you make a lot of investments, even offshore accounts. I had friends of mine who were doing tenders. They have other offshore accounts, so at least they are okay. As for me, I put all of my eggs in one basket. Yo, dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear brother. Let us speak with our brother in the comment section. Yo, strange things indeed, they do happen in this world.